There we go. Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Sorry, I'm a couple of minutes late. I was making my third cup of tea for the day at 10 a.m. So, welcome, everybody. Hi, my name's Margaret Pinard. I'm a historical fiction author and eclectic reader. And for this Friday, we're going to do what I was going to do last Friday. The two tags are the 8 memories and rapid fire. So, rapid fire is another version that we've seen lots of versions of, which is this or that, right? So, we've done a fair amount of those, but these are different. And maybe you haven't seen me do one of those before. So, I'm going to do that. I was tagged by BookBuds and Leslie at Books, Gurs, and Purrs. The original rapid fire tag is by Andy at Really Random Reads. And then also, I figured I'd pair that with a little slower tag, which is 8 memories. Nope. It's the other direction. I'm scrolling the wrong way. It's in the description. I should just look in the description. Because this tag note I have has been going on forever and it's just endless scroll. So let me look at the description instead. There we go. This was an original tag by the Accidental Bookseller, and I was tagged by Daniela at Uncommon Reader. So I've tagged some folks here at the end, and hopefully they get the notification to watch this eventually. I've also put a little question of the day in the chat, and hopefully I'll remember to change the banners out as we go. But again, if you have questions, you can always pop them in the chat or down in the comments. And if you like fun tags like this, I do them once a month. I typically do 2 or 3 at once to try to keep up, but I only have space in the streaming schedule for like once a month to get them all in. So if that is your jam, subscribe to the channel and you'll see them in future. So rapid fire tag as soon as we catch up with the chat to say hello. Jenny is here. Evening, my sweet. How are you? I'm doing great. Yes, we had an inner crone video on Wednesday to reflect the dark interior of the season, of the psyche, whichever is true for you. And now we're back up to tags and just feeling a little better. Eva is here. Hello, hello. 8 memories. Yes. And I had several iterations of this. I delayed it. So I had another iteration this morning when I was like, I don't know. And then I found my organizing principle, which is going to be the places. So we'll have 2 for each place and then a bonus. So I'm actually going to do 9, but I hope everyone's all in for that. We have Ellen. Hello. Evening. Yeah, you and Jenny are in the same time zone, and Eva is 2 hours ahead of me. So first, the rapid fire tag. Okay. So if you want to follow along, I'm going to try to keep this short, but all the questions are down in the description. And I'm going to take a sip of tea before we go into this to see how fast I can go. Oh, all right. And the tea cup is going to come up later, so I'll save that for later. Number 1, ebook or physical book? Physical book, hands down. Number 2, paperback or hardback? Paperback, hands down. Number 3, online or in-store book shopping? Whose channel are we on? In-store book shopping. Get out of town. Number 4, trilogies or series? Trilogies. I don't know. Number 5, heroes or villains? Heroes. Number 6, a book you want everyone to read. Black Ghost of Empire. The Black Ghost of Empire has been on several recommended lists. So if you want to know more about it, just type it into the search on my channel page. Number 7, recommend an underrated book. The Women of the Copper Country. Again, search it on my channel. Favorite go-to to recommend. Number 8, the last book you finished. Why do I have stop on here? The last book. Oh, because I tried to go find Storygraph because this changed many times. Storygraph is having some issues. Every time I log in now, it either stutter stops or it says trying to verify that you're human. So I assume they're having bot attacks. And the last book I read was sort of a tie. I reread The Beekeeper's Apprentice because I just read Knave of Diamonds as an audiobook by Laurie R. King, who writes a series about Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes. So there you go. Number 9, the last book you bought. And here's where the teacup comes in, and we'll slow down for a second. So if you can see the teacup, oops, I'm on the wrong tab. Let's see. Here we go. December, this little illustration. On the other side, we've got The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady and some quotes, right? You've seen this before. I had broken it. I glued the handle back on because it's a very sentimental mug. It came to me. It came to me in a box full of mugs that my dad's mother, my grandma, had collected throughout the world. And I took a few of them that were from some neat places. I never knew them there, but places they had gone in their retirement, my grandparents. And then I came across this gem, The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. And it's a beautiful condition. Someone gave it as a gift. It's just like a diary that's been whatever it's called. Oh, and I know this flower. I know both of those flowers. But it's been, what do they say? Mimeographed from the actual diary and her writing. So I got the book that the mug was based on. So like that was just a fun find. And I didn't need it, but I couldn't pass it up. So that was fun. All right, pausing on the rapid fire. Let's see. Greg is here. Hello. A few minutes past noon. Yeah, I was late. Jenny says, I've been listening to Sacrifice by Tommy Prophet and Flurry on repeat for the last month. Such a great song. This is our question of the day in the chat if you're confused. Yes, it's off topic, but we're chaotic good. So we're just going to allow it. In-store surprise finds. Yep. Hi, Kat. Kat from the chat. Hi, Gareth. Just got in. Excellent. Kat says that mug has been through quite a lot. I know. And I put it in the microwave recently when I didn't want to use the tea kettle, and it like blew up. And I'm like, why are you blowing up? But one of the other mugs I got from the same box from my grandma, it just like cracked down the side when I put it in the microwave. So like it wasn't drink safe anymore. This one is still drink safe. I think it erupted. I don't know. Well, I can't open it up again to the same page, but it's a very pretty book. And it's one of those, like a commonplace book. She just talks about the weather and what they're doing that day, and then puts like monthly things about quotes about the month, which is what made it onto the mug, it's not very nice. The December, a green mule makes a fat kirkyard, which is a little grim, but it's what she came up with. So yeah. All right, continuing with the tag. Weirdest thing you've ever used as a bookmark. And I don't know the weirdest. I'd probably say like a food wrapper. Sometimes chocolate come in those little cellophane things, and I've used those. So I said food wrapper. I actually go into great detail about my bookmarks. And if you want to see the wide variety I have, check out the tag. I'm just dropping that in the chat. There's a tag for that, and it's called Hold My Place. So I've linked to the video, but also the half, because I did 2 tags. So if you see the ampersand T equals 1126, that means like that's halfway through. So I'm trying to be very hopeful if you want to go check that out. Okay, number 11, used books, yes or no? Whose channel are we on? Yes. Number 12, top 3 favorite genres: history, mystery, romance. We've got it all. That's an easy one. Number 13, borrow or buy. So my eco-friendly angel on my shoulder is going to say borrow from a friend or from the library. But obviously I buy a lot too. Number 14, character or plot. Different strokes for different folks. But if I was going to say the majority of my preferences, character. Because then you can have something interesting. If you have no characters but a good plot, then like I don't care about them. Number 15, long or short books. I'm going to say short because Sturograph tells me I read mostly less than 300 pages these days, which is weird. I think it's because a lot of the nonfiction are about 200. But yeah, usually I think I'm more at the 300 mark. But Sturograph doesn't lie, right? Number 16, long or short chapters? Short chapters. I think everyone likes that little sense of achievement, that like little treat. I finished the chapter. Dopamine hit. Number 17, name the first 3 books you think of. And I left this one blank so that I could just think of it in the moment. Well, since it says 3 in the question, I'm going to say Three Musketeers. Another book I already mentioned. No, I'm not going to say it because I already mentioned it as an answer. And I can't do the ones that are right in front of me. Another book, Wind in the Willows. I don't know why that came up because I was just watching a video about wind. Apparently there was like gale force winds on Burns Day in 1990, and Thames TV has this out of their archive. So it was just a video of commuters trying to get out of the tube station at Camden Town, and they're like leaning into the wind like this, and some are getting blown out into the street and blown into the subway stairs, the tube stairs. I mean, the people are laughing. It looks a little scary, actually. Anyway, if you remember the Burns Day storm of 1990, there you go. Wind in the Willows, and the third book I can think of. Think of a book. Laini Taylor's Dream, Strange the Dreamer. There we go. Because I was just looking at my shelves. Wow. Why is that so hard where there's so many? Number 18, books that make you laugh or books that make you cry? Books that make me laugh. Obviously. What times we're living in here. Number 19, our world or fictional worlds? Fictional worlds, obviously. I mean, they didn't say fantasy worlds. They just said fictional. So I do read a lot of nonfiction, but fictional worlds. Time being what it is. Number 20, audiobooks, yes or no? Yes. We love Libro.fm. Number 21, do you ever judge a book by its cover? Yes, but I don't buy it just for its cover because I'm not Ben. Number 19, 20, 21, 22. Book to movie or book to TV adaptations? I'm going to say book to TV just for Leslie. I think TV gives you a lot more room to play, and then you get a lot more satisfying, like denouement, unrolling of the story, even though there are plenty of great movie adaptations. That's what I'll say. Number 23, a movie or TV adaptation you preferred more than the book. There's very few. There's like 2 of these, and I'm going to say one of them, Austen Land. Number 24, series or standalones? Standalones. Some people have issues with commitment because if they start one, they have to read the whole series, like Jenny, perhaps. I do not have such issues, so it doesn't really matter to me, but for those people, I'd prefer to be accommodating. And let me catch up with the chat since we're finished before I tag people. Gareth says, I use bus tickets and receipts a lot. Yeah, that's not very strange though, right? I have tons of bookmarks, but I'm disorganized. Yeah, what's the strangest thing you've used as a bookmark? Cattail? Didn't last very long, but I did use a cattail. Very gently. Yeah, food wrapper is probably like the weirdest one. Jenny says, I've used my Kindle before, one of the rare times I was reading physical. Yes, I've definitely used other books as bookmarks. That doesn't last very long either. They fall out. So do pencils. Yes. And Gareth says, make the 3 genres rhyme. Mystery, history, and history. Romance says, kistory. I like that. Kiss story. That's fun. Jenny agrees. Kat says, yes, short chapters for the win. Also great when sleepy but refuse to quit mid-chapter. Right. The stubborn among us, the Tauruses among us. We're surprised, Kat says, that Jenny has physical books. Yeah, I knew that. And she says, I blame my love of Tolkien for actually enjoying longer chapters. What? What, girl? What? If you feel like making a re-entry into the Booktube world, Jenny and Kat, feel free to do this. I didn't tag you guys, but Kat says, I've been reading comedy lately. Love some cozy assassin laughs. Yes, cozy assassin is a funny phrase, but in the year of 2025, we need it. Kat says, oh, Ven, such a pretty cover sucker. Summon. Excellent. And Elaine. Oh, all the gang is here. You guys. Yes, you were. Phone on 7%, so I may vanish. Okay. Plug that in. Jenny says TV also, unfortunately, also allows for alterations, some good and some bad, but so does a movie. Yeah, that's what adaptation means. So yeah, you kind of have to gamble. I guess you've got to gamble. You get no guarantee. Now, doesn't that kind of apply to you and I? You and me. Anyone name that musical? Give me a reason. I will break into song. There we go. Noah's missing. Noah's always missing. He's in work. Okay. He's an invisible gremlin. That too. Jenny says, it's not my fault. I like all the shiny new series. I'm working on my commitment issues. That's why we're trying to be accommodating. Yes. And poor Noah. Yeah. Oh, I skipped. You'd think movie would always win, but I've read some books that lost the comparison. No, see, I wouldn't think movie would always win. Why would that be? Because books have a much greater level of constructing a world individually suited to the reader, whereas a movie is trying to play towards a certain population, and you may not be that population, where a book allows you to do some things yourself. Yeah. More singing. I love it. Yeah, not Porto. He hasn't been in all week. Yeah. Thank you, Elaine. Yeah, it needs a little stretch. So can anyone name the musical? I'll give you another line from it. It's about a melon. Something. What is the beginning of the line? You mustn't squeeze a melon till you get the melon home. You've simply got to gamble. Anybody? Thank you. All right, well, that's our rapid fire tag. My banner is tagging the folks. So Ven, Rachel, new channels I'm subscribing to, Fellowship of the Folios, who I just met, Roy Reads Anything, and Book Reviews with Becky. So hopefully you guys will enjoy either running straight through it like I did or explaining more. Either are permitted. So have fun with that. And then we're going to move on to our 8 memories tag, which is considerably slower. So, yay! Okay, so a little pan. Going to pan up to the brilliant execution of my requested design there with the arches. I think it worked. Beautifully. The crown molding. Round of applause for Jason. Owens Contracting. Beautiful work. There we go. It's all filled in. Yay! And I did put the playlist, if you haven't caught up to all this excitement. I had vlogs over the summer while all this was being prepared and then finally installed in September. So click down below if you're interested in those. Jenny says, having a series should have helped Rings of Power, but by God, they destroyed everything. Yeah. It's also Amazon, so I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. Maybe a film would have been easier to get through. Hi, Jim. Hello. Oh, speaking of people in different time zones, just letting you know, big event. So I think this will be the final Truth and Reconciliation for the climate interview with a person. The October episode of the TRC will be with MK Williams, who is a fellow YouTuber and indie author and has a big channel and like super successful. She's got nonfiction about writing as well as cli-fi, climate fiction, thrillers, literary fiction, lots of genres. And so she does a lot and does it well, does it with style. So MK will be on the channel Wednesday, but it will be 2 hours earlier than usual. I'm normally at 10 a.m. Pacific, so it will be 8 a.m. Pacific to accommodate her schedule. So just putting you on alert if you're on the live stream routine, it'll be 2 hours earlier and a special time. Kat says, wait, stupid autocorrect. It switched it on me. Meant I expected books, but I've been disappointed by books. Ah, I see. Does that mean that you've watched the movie and then gone to read the book and then disappointed? Or just that a book that has a movie wasn't as good? I don't know. Yay. Amazing. Well done, Jason. And then highs. Hey, Anita drops in. Hello, hello. Greg says, I was away and just listening, but I knew the answer. Guys and dolls. Yay! So we had to have an American for that one. That makes sense. Thank you for supplying that answer. It's such a great song. It's these two women who are concocting a scheme, and they're very different, but they come in on the same line of hooking their husbands, which is very fun. Yes. Hi, Greg, the man with the answers. Well done. Well done. Okay. 8 memories tag. And again, if you have questions about any of these, they're kind of books no one would really pick up. They're just very personal memories to me. But I'm going to use this tag as an excuse to talk about the places they remind me of, because that's what the tag is about. I'm scrolling to find the tag instead of just going to the description. Just go to the description, Margaret. Okay. The explanation of the 8 memories tag, originally by the Accidental Bookseller and Daniela at the Uncommon Reader, tagged me. What are 8 books that you see on your shelf or that you remember reading where that sight evokes powerful memories regarding moments in your life or key experiences? Similar to when you hear a song and it transports you in memory to a key moment or period in your life. What 8 books do the same for you and why? Carte blanche on how much information you wish to impart. It's an opportunity to give subscribers a little more detail on how lives connect to books via experience, which is lovely. And then I just put the caveat in here. This was kind of strange. I do remember reading books in places sometimes, and definitely listening to audiobooks when I'm on the move, and I remember where I was at a specific like moment in the book, which is kind of cool. But these are all going to be physical books, so I can show them that I still have. And I remember better where I got them instead of where I read them. So we'll talk a little bit about this. The first one. What should go first? Let me get back to the comments. I'm lost in the screens here. Jenny never would have known that. I understand. Yeah. Guys and Dolls used to be pretty popular, but not so much anymore. Thinking on Canadians. Hey, you have the same access to Broadway music that I do. All right. We'll let all that go below the bridge. Hello, Emma. Hello, hello. How you doing? I tagged you in one of these. So Jenny's laughing and trying to pick fights. Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's start. How do we want to start? I guess I'm going to go back in time. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we're going to go back in time. That means the bonus book is last. So latest additions to the library that are very place focused. I'm going to focus on Scotland. So as you might know, I have a thing with Scotland here. I've got lots of books that involve locations in Scotland. I've studied up on the history a lot. I've been there like 6 times in the past 10 years to learn more, to get more familiar with the landscape, to just experience the history and like the spookiness and the like terrible things, honestly, but also remarkable things that the Scots have accomplished. Jenny, take your bows, right? So it's all down to you in this chat. And on those journeys, I have taken the opportunity every time I go to pack light and come back loaded down with books. If you know, you relate, right? So the last trip, we'll do this backwards. The last trip, I picked up this one, South Glasgow Heritage Trails, a guide, right? This is not a book you're going to find like in a bookstore anywhere. This is very specific to place. And what's hiding in it is the Pollockshaw's Heritage Trail. This is getting very local. If you're on TikTok and it says, wow, the For You page is getting way too local because it's like right next to me. That's just kind of a fun aside. So this is what a local historic society put together. And this is the kind of level of detail that I get into, that I pull from to go over things in my books. We've got pictures, we've got historical buildings, we've got like local personages and industry and their role in the economy. And like, this is what I eat up, because all of that background information is what drives human stories and what I use for my fiction. So I went on this like walking tour, and I had a pamphlet, I guess, to look up things. And South Glasgow was where I set my last book. And so I took a lot of little elements from that. So, and I will say I got to meet up with a booktuber, or two or three. So in South Glasgow, I met up with Sandra at Pull Down the Moon, and it was delightful. We walked around a little bit. And then in Glasgow itself, I met up with Sandra and and Heather Gregg and Camilla at Hasty Books. Camilla, that's not right. Hasty Books is the channel. So, and it's been a while. So yeah, and they were delightful. We had a little bookshop cafe moment. So people and places and history and my fiction getting worked in. So that's a good start, right? That's a good start. Several trips ago, I was out in the islands in the Hebrides, and I stopped at, what was it? It was not, trying to think. There was a place to eat. It was like a little canteen, but it was more of a community center and it wasn't totally open. So I remember going in and sort of poking around and wanting to learn more. I don't think their bookshop was open. But I did find this there. They had an art exhibit that was the woodcuts this artist had put together. And I was like, that's amazing. It's all my interests coming together. It's Scottish words, and art and language that were being portrayed so that they weren't lost. There's just really fun things. So if you've ever had like words that don't translate into other languages, we've got illustrations, the word, the pronunciation, and the definition. So queelag, the little rings that form on the surface of fat soup. It's just like things that are particular. Bwiclac, a soft-backed crab, a lukewarm, indifferent character, a soft potato. So it can mean any of those things. So I just love this because it's people trying to maintain heritage and specificity and like defiant resilience. I loved it. So that is a little book that I have that I've looked into every once in a while. Where was it? Was it on Sky? Nope. Where did my mom and I go? We were in and around a lock. No, it was before that trip. Well, I may forget which trip it was. I may have been on my own for this one, so maybe a couple trips ago. But yeah. Lots of places visited, lots of books dragged home. It's lovely. A soft potato. Bwiclac. Let's see. I've got a lot to catch up on. Let me catch up here myself. Elaine says, my current listen. Okay, there's the answer to the question. Musical War of the Worlds. Is that an October theme? I don't know. I haven't realized. Elaine says, would love to visit Scotland. Yep. Eventually, you'll just have to stay here, Margaret. That's what I'm angling for. I know. Sounds like Gareth on vacation. Yes, I'm sure Gareth comes back with as many books packed in as he can. Kat says, it's on my bucket list. I need to find where my grandparents grew up there. Ooh, excellent. Well, start with a name, right? They're very nice there. There's only a few that get really ticked off about Americans calling themselves Scottish. But you've got the red hair to back it up, Kat, so I'm pretty sure you'd be fine. Kara says, I always admire the research you do for your books and how much you put into that. Yes, I'm kind of on a standstill right now, but I do love that part and have definitely put it into the books. Did you have fun with the accents? Which accents are you talking about? It's funny, in a couple live streams ago, I did, for some reason, I broke into a Yorkshire accent, and, Alan was the only one there to rein me in. And I asked him, was that okay? Did that have any passing resemblance? And he said, thumbs up. So we're working on it. But the Scots accents are hard to jump into, shall we say. I don't have the same key that I do to ease myself in very quickly. So I have to read a lot of something or hear a lot of something to get back into it. Yes, and it's awesome. I got to meet the booktubers there. It's really fun. Elaine says, being able to meet booktubers in person. So sweet watching Dave running to hug Gareth. Such an awesome moment. I know. It's really cute. Yeah. Glad it had pronunciation. I never would guess anything close to that. I know. The Gaelic is strong. Yes. Okay. How about this one? Bijak an dinja virev. Bijak an dinja virev. Something like that. Kat will love this one. The dead man's nip. I heard of a woman who was married to a widower who was nipped very severely on the night of her marriage. She thought it was the first wife. So a ghoulish folkloric representation. There's fun stuff like that. I love that Gaelic is very unphonetic. It's only unphonetic if you don't know the sounds, right? They have proper rules and all that. So it's funny. Denny says, I want to move to the West Coast to learn Gaelic easier. Yeah. I mean, the alternative, if you're still, I know you're from Aberdeen, and I'm not sure if you're still living there. I think you might be somewhere else. But the Doric accent, I have never been able to get into that or understand it. So I've just left that alone. I want to get there eventually. It's supposed to be the sunnier coast, right? So we'll see. Jim says, every chapter of lingo which looks at European languages has a word from the language discussed in the chapter that's not translatable. Lingo. Is this a book? Oh. Ishtol alam galig hai skunal. Oh my goodness, Greg, did we just discover another? Oh my gosh, this is very cool. That's very talented. I can't do the spelling because I've only learned with the group that does speaking and listening. That's amazing. All right, so Jim's telling us more about lingo. Omenye is a Romanian word for the virtue of being fully human. Ooh. Gentle, decent, respectful, hospitable, honest, polite, decency. Yeah. Romania, huh? Carrying the flag. Elaine says, H.G. Wells, listen every October and all month leading up to the end of the month, an anniversary of the broadcast by Orson Welles. Very cool. Yeah, Anita says you should check out Miss Punny Penny on Instagram and her Scots word of the day. Yeah, I don't find they're as aligned with my humor. She's great to listen to, and I love her activist resilience and the causes that she fights for. And I love listening to her talk. It's great. The ones she comes up with are sometimes just not as funny to me. So yeah, I do have encountered her on TikTok though. Len Penny and her poems. Greg says, Liam's stupid autocorrect changing Gaelic and English. Okay. Close. I mean, I didn't even catch it because I'm not that good. So well done. Jenny says, love her, bought her poetry book too. Excellent. Yeah, that's fun. I need to find her. I used to find Penny in Facebook, but I'm never there anymore. Ooh, okay. Yeah. Not sure what this is about, but it's awesome. Jim says, Bowen Chayo, Bowen Tayo. I'm not sure how to say that. Irish is a word for the art of socializing by going from house to house looking for the crack. Oh, I like it. That's a good way to socialize. Hey, I'm gonna take that under consideration for my ongoing program to form community here at home. Anita says Nova Scotia has a Gaelic college. Yes, they're very good at keeping the culture going there. And Lingo is a book by Gaston Doran, which I haven't heard of. So I'm starring that just in case I remember to come back. It sounds really cool. I have one that's a book of like untranslatable words, and it's got little graphics and stuff. It's American publisher though, so probably not as interesting as what you're doing. And then Jenny says, Doric is what I speak most of the time. It's fun seeing some people's reaction when all the words are so normal for us. Oh my God. All right. So for folks who aren't like in on the Doric, the only pop culture reference I can grasp at is if you've seen Merida from Brave and the three suitors, the second suitor is played by an actor who mumbles in a Doric accent the whole time. So in the same way that Brad Pitt mumbles in a sort of Welsh, I don't know what he's supposed to be in Snatch, whatever that movie was. He has this funny unrepeatable, unrecreatable. Anyway, I can't find the word accent. And then in a similar way in Brave, one of the suitors is supposed to be from like the Doric area, and like it's brilliant. Anything to be chaotic. Ooh, we've got one from Scott's. Situtery. Literary sit-outery, a place for intimate togetherness like a sunroom, also a secluded corner at a party. Yeah, sit hoot. Yeah, I like that. That's fun. That's fun. And that's Scots instead of Gaelic because it's using English words. Interesting. Okay, so that's my Scotland edition, and that's the latest two books. So we're going to continue going backwards with this one. Okay, so the next two are going to be from New York, interestingly enough. So I featured this one in the Crone Energy live stream on Wednesday. It's Gift from the Sea by Anne Morrow Lindbergh. And this is the copy that I got from my great aunt, Aunt Irene, and she lived on Long Island for the last decades of her life. And I think this is the first one. So the first time I read it was as a gift from her. And it's just a small book about this woman in the 20s or 30s writing on a retreat, basically thinking over things and engagement with the world. And as you saw on Wednesday, perhaps, it's got a lot of good reflection and among some, debatable or questionable political leanings, shall we say. But it's a lot about rest and retreat and personal growth. And so it was really great to get when I was in my late 20s. And I just love that I have this book from my great aunt. I took a couple of the Post-its. Actually, I thought this was in a card, but maybe not. So I have them in the book here, just notes that she left for me. And I really like that I can remember all those times that I visited her in Port Washington, New York, which is on Long Island, which has a totally different accent, and I wouldn't really know how to reproduce it except that it sounds like the Jersey Shore to me, so I'll just include this. And that got really New York City at the end there. But yeah, so Long Island, I now have a cousins once removed who I'll still love on Long Island, so I have a place to visit, and they're lovely. I just got to see them this summer. But yeah, so I love remembering the visits there during grad school and after, and the time with my great aunt. So that's really neat. And then following up on that, I have done a lot of traveling in my life, but it has significantly slowed down in the past 5 or 6 years, because of the pandemic, also because I feel like I've had a shift in the responsibility. I was recently thinking about mourning who you thought you would be, and one of the things that I always pictured myself being was like this jet setter, like either a travel blogger or someone going to international conferences, and that's just not going to be the way of things in our carbon suffused future. And so I've definitely made conscious decisions to not go on trips, to group things, to stay closer to home, take public transit, try the train, even though it's terrible here in America. And this book sort of aligns with that. Even though I got it before I was thinking all those thoughts. It's called When Wanderers Cease to Roam, A Traveler's Journal of Staying Put by Vivian Swift. And I came across Vivian Swift, I don't know if it was with this book or a different one. She's an illustrator. She paints, and she's done a lot of traveling, obviously, but then for some reasons, elected to stay put for a year and like really challenge herself to stay in place and appreciate the changes in place rather than changing where she was herself. And she talks about all the things she notices. So for someone who's talking about mindfulness and intentionality, like just appreciating, kitchen comforts and all these sorts of things, I really liked that ethos. I tried to contact her at one point and didn't get a really great response. So, take it with a grain of salt. The book is really beautiful. The sentiments are really beautiful, and we'll take that for what it is, right? But where she stayed and observed all these seasons was on Long Island. So I liked that extra kick as well. So that was neat. And the other thing is that this reminds me of my cousin once removed who lived in New York State in Hudson Valley and passed away right as I moved out to Portland, way before her time. So when I think about these two, I think about my Aunt Irene, who's passed on, and my cousin Jenny, who has passed on, and the lovely things that they've left behind with me. So, oof. All right. Jenny says, I find him hilarious as I understand him just fine. Yeah, it's this redheaded guy he's an actor, but he's also a musician. I can't remember his name right now. Greg says, most of what I've learned about Scots I got from listening to natives reading Robert Burns. Oh, fun. Okay. And then Elaine says, lovely to have books from family. Yeah. Jenny says, I haven't read Burns in years. I'm a bad Scot. Well, January's coming, Jenny, so you can brush up. Greg says, I plan to do some readings of Burns on my channel in January, leading up to Burns Night. Excellent. January the 25th for anyone who's not in the know. I haven't been out of Georgia since 2018. The pandemic was a big factor and the carbon footprint concern. I used to go to a couple of different countries every year. Yeah. Is Georgia connected to other places with trains as well as most of Eastern Europe, or not really? Because when I did my traveling in Eastern Europe in 2007, it was pretty easy to get around with the trains. But I didn't go as far as Georgia. Elaine says, I've been in the same house 38 years. Awesome to note all the changes with nature. Yes. There it is. Kevin McKidd. Thank you. That's the actor who plays the character who speaks Doric in Brave, for anyone not following all the mad leaps about. Okay, so we've done Scotland, we've done Long Island, and now we're going to switch to Paris. So third location, books 5 and 6. So if you didn't know, I did study abroad when I was in college, and I studied French in high school and university, majored in it, and then had about 3.5 months in Paris for the fall semester of 2001. Fall semester of 2001 was interrupted by a little terrorist event. So the experience was a little interrupted, but I did have a lot of experiences there. And these are two of the books that I brought back from that time, which has influenced me in my life. I don't have much opportunity to speak French with people here. I do know people who kind of know French and want to keep it up, but we never get around to practicing. So I've poked and prodded some people on Booktube or here in Portland, and maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't. I did have one awesome session of karaoke where we had like a little pre-party and we all did French songs. That was amazing. That was last year. I don't know if I'll ever reach those heights again, but it was pretty cool. So the first book is called Lamb or Limbo, which is very close to lingo, Jim, but it's a very slim little paperback by Nancy Houston, who's I think American. Nope, Canadian, Calgary. Romancière et essayiste, Nancy Houston est née à Calgary et vit à Paris depuis de nombreuses années. Elle a publié plusieurs romans et essais chez Actes Sud et aussi chez Lebeac, which publisher I don't know. But yeah, born in Calgary, lives in Paris, and writes essays and stuff. So this was something we were reading for a class that I took in Paris, and it's translated. So you have the thing where you have English on one side and French on the other, and you get to see the idiom, the way of describing things that are different. I had lots of notes to take because I didn't understand a lot of it. And there's a phrase that comes out of this book that will come to my mind every once in a while because it was so powerful. And that is cloué sur place, which literally means nailed to the spot, like nailed in place, like literal nail. And it was a very dramatic moment where she uses it with religious imagery and everything. But the experience of reading through this with a teacher in a class and also just hearing it, because we got to see like a reading of it, I think really impacted my French experience. So that was pretty neat. And then the other one was the fantastic experience of an architecture class while I was there. So this is a French book that I picked up that was not too big because, again, couldn't carry a whole big coffee table book, but this was a small one that I could take home with me. Histoire de l'architecture is just like a primer on architecture, the eras, how to identify things by their main what am I looking for? Characteristics. And I read it a long time ago and I haven't gone back to this, but I've kept it. The thing that comes to mind from this book is in this architecture class, we went to l'École spéciale d'architecture. So we had various schools, right? We had the school that was doing all the organizing with my university and did the actual exchange. And then you could also register to take classes from local schools if they had arrangements. So I took one at the Sorbonne. I took one at the L'Institut Catholique, the Catholic Institute, because I had to take religion requirements for my university back home. And then I had one at the Special Architecture School is what it was called. And it was just another world you could step into, which was really cool. But for that one, it was actually a British professor, and he spoke in French for the class. But we did some in classroom stuff, and his accent was fine. And then we would do some walking tours, and I just remember the two phrases I remember from his lectures and walking tours would be he'd point things out, and he would point out pierre de taille, which was the big stones that you see on the bottom level, especially on the like Second Empire roofs, the mansard roofs. They'd have these huge stones at the bottom, and then they have coins going up on the corners. And so stones of size is what that means, like the big stones. And then the first time I ever heard the word bow window, it was pronounced le beau window. Le beau window, which is a British person saying bow window in a French accent because they didn't have their own word for it, which I just found hilarious. So anyway, so now I know lots more about bow windows and such, but just being out in that world and experiencing the glory of the architecture and the beauty of Paris was unforgettable. So that's definitely comes back to me. Let's see. Kat says, I've just never had the funding to travel. Plus, little man hates everyone, so can't be leaving my baby to travel. Really? The one that headbutted you and gave you fruits on your face? He doesn't love everyone? I can't imagine. Jim says, Georgia is connected to Azerbaijan and Armenia by train. Okay, so that's like Soviet Union days. It's not really connected to. Is it not above or next to Romania? I'm failing in my geography here, but we'll be helped by that in a second. Don't worry. Jenny says, good excuse for us to come to see you someday. Cat. Yeah, sounds good. Nice, like Shakespeare. I can't remember what that would refer to. Kat says, yes, so it's very hot here compared to where you're at. I'll have to build a big place on a ton of land with plenty of guest rooms for folks to love on all the animals when I win the lottery one day. Well, just one question. Do you play the lottery? Do you play the lotto? Jim says, I haven't read in French for a few years now. I've dropped my membership of the French library here. Oh, yeah. The French also have le weekend, le roast-beef, le business, les affaires. Yeah, they've had to surrender a few words, but I think they're still pretty strong on their language and cultural heritage. Kat says, yeah, that one. His attempts at defense tend to hurt the one he's trying to protect. Well, yep. Elaine says, English on one side, French on the other. English on one side. Oh, like Shakespeare. Gotcha. It's the translation. You have like the old language and the newer explanation. Gotcha. Kat says, only when it gets big enough to be worth risking the money so I can quit my job immediately. The risk, the reward. I see it. Okay. All right. So now we've gone through 3 places. And I did say we're going to get a little geography lesson. So let's dive into California. All right. California. What did I do in California? Well, I was born there. I grew up there. I went to school there. I had a job or few there. And this book that I have kept through many long years and is probably way outdated. It's a small one though, so I keep it. It's a World Atlas, quick reference from Rand McNally, that I had to have as required for a university course at Santa Clara. And that was for geography, which was taught by Father Luis Calero, who was a Colombian priest. And it was an class. Anthropology 50 was the title. And he didn't just teach about maps and atlases and rivers and mountains. He taught about cultural geography. And I was like blown away. I was like, oh, this isn't geography that I had in high school. This is amazing. And he was just really, really good. So one of my favorite classes in 4 years of college. And I kept this because like it was just a really valuable experience. But now I'm going to go look up Georgia, the country. Let's see. It might not be on here. Let's see. Bulgaria, Romania, Odessa. We got Ukraine. We got Moldova. We got Belarus, Lithuania, Kazakhstan, Georgia. Oh my God. It's on the other side of the Black Sea. I was way off. I was thinking it was west of Ukraine. Sorry, Jim. Okay. So here we go. This map, if the map is still true here. This is Karadeniz. I got the French accent with the Turkish words. Karadeniz. So the Black Sea is right here where my pinky is. You see Turkey, where I lived for a year. You see the Black Sea. Oh, I'm losing maps here. And on one side you have Albania. Nope, you have Bulgaria. You have Romania, and then Ukraine. And then on the other side, if I center it here, you have Georgia and Azerbaijan, etc. So it's definitely like on the other side of Russia. Okay, that's helpful. Father Calero would not be pleased to know that lapse of recollection, but here we are, 2025. Good to know. And now I've just told everyone where Jim lives. So excellent. On the east side of Turkey. So yeah, trains would have to go through Russia, through Ukraine, and so they'd probably be pretty dangerous to take right now. So gotcha. But yeah, so this little volume, I've had plenty of other like road atlases and like tour guide travel books of individual places, but this is what started me off in college. And like I had places that I visited with my family, but putting it all together and really having a hunger to travel the world started here at Santa Clara University with Father Calero. So that's a special memory. Let's see. Jim's giving us the lowdown here with words. Georgia is bordered by Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia, along with 2 semi-autonomous regions, Abkhazia and South Ossetia. Thank you. And, ooh, Cali, a place I've been. I miss the weather and my handful of friends. Yeah, I was wondering if you left off with my handful. That as open interpretation, Kat. In your Rand McNally Alice, you can see Georgian SSR is on the opposite side of the Black Sea to Romania. Yeah, so underground train, maybe like under the lake. I don't know. You never know. They're creating marvels these days. Oh, side note, I just got back from Canada, from Vancouver, as I said, with the book haul and all. And you know the train that went right by our hotel that I talked about? It was unmanned. It was an automatic train. There was no driver. And it came like every 2 minutes, which was not great for the sleep schedule, but is amazing for a train system. So it's a light rail. It's elevated, kind of like a sky train at the airport. But they've had this since like 1985. America, get your shit together. Jesus Christ. I learned that and I was just like, why? Why are we so pitiful when it comes to public transit? It's really embarrassing. Really embarrassing. Jenny says California is too hot. Although San Francisco looks cool. San Francisco is cool. You always need a jacket. And I really want to go to San Diego Comic-Con one year. Ooh, that would be fun. That would be fun. And it would be a cooler experience temperature-wise than going to the Atlanta one, even though the Atlanta Comic-Con. Sorry, I'm stuffy. Is also a really big deal because that would be sticky and hot, and San Diego would be like hot but sea breeze. So, I mean, take your pick. Elaine says, glad you finished that handful. Yeah, exactly. Kat says, San Francisco is amazing and kind of chilly. Never made it to San Diego one. I was crushing in X's parents' guest room at Comic-Con would be fun. Yes, it would be fun. Yeah. Gareth says, I keep forgetting that Jim lives in Georgia. Sorry, Jim. Kat says, yeah, I fat fingered and didn't like how that sentence ended without my permission. Jim says Katie Malua comes from Georgia, Gareth. Ooh, the singer. I know about Katie Malua because a fellow English teacher when I was in Turkey had her on the playlist and shared her music with me. So she comes from Georgia. Maybe she's more well-known in Britain. That's why they're sharing that. Jim says, I've only seen the Pacific Ocean from Australia. In the US, I didn't get further west than Chicago, which I got to by train from Bryan, Ohio. How did you get to Bryan, Ohio? I don't even know where that is. Let's see if it's on the map. They do have a big US map in here. So let's see if we can get Ohio. All right. Ohio, Lima, Sandusky, Toledo, Akron, Cleveland, Youngstown, Canton, Columbus, Zanesville, Portsmouth. There's a Portsmouth in Ohio. Dayton. That's it. No Bryan. Let me see, Chicago. Yeah, so I don't know where Bryan, Ohio is. Y'all keep saying Georgia, and I'm over here where I grew up or the country. Don't get distracted by pets and then tune back in randomly. Yeah, Jim is from Georgia. Chug, chug, chug. Not sure if that is. Is it drinking or is it the train? Gareth says, an American friend said that the train system was bad because the US is big, but I think that's a poor excuse with climate change, etc. I mean, it is bad because it's big. Like there's no way we can get to the density of connections like the UK has with the land mass we have, but within the regional centers, we should have had something, like we should have had something. And I am still mad over the fact that there is one train per day that leaves to go down the coast. Like one train per day, and it's in the middle of the night. It's just not it. Not it, Amtrak. Elaine's laughing at me. Don't hold back. How do you really feel about the transportation? Bye, Greg. Oh, boy. Let's see. Gareth is saying closest thing to crazy was her big hit over here. That's not ringing a bell, so I think I know different songs from her, or just like really old songs because it's like 20 years ago now. Portsmouth Everywhere. We were the OG. Yeah. I don't know. Boston and Portland are pretty common too. I got a Greyhound bus to Toledo and was picked up by my hosts from Toledo bus station. Okay, well, Toledo's on the map, so there we go. Isn't that what Americans say when drinking? Ah, no. That's what frat boys say when drinking. So you were talking about the tea. No. Us cultured folk don't do that. That's going to be my dig today is at frat boys. Elaine says, I keep thinking Georgia, U.S. Yeah, nope. Georgia, the country. How do you say Georgia in Georgian? Don't give it to me in the Georgian lettering, Jim, but like, how do you say it in Georgian? That'd be interesting. I always like to know how you say a country in its own language, because like Japan is not Japan and stuff like that. My hosts know you could get a train from their town to Chicago because they drive everywhere. Yeah, sad fact. Americans. Kat says part of the U.S. transportation issue is hateful, folks. I've lived in places where public transit wasn't allowed in the city because it would allow brown folks in. Ooh, that's the center of the country talking. The center in the South, I guess. Woo! Wow. Yeah. I was actually just noting this. So I am reading Walking with the Wind, which is John Lewis's autobiography from the late 90s. And I'm just in his college experience now. And he was talking about Nashville, speaking of places in the news for being overrun by federalized troops. He's talking about Nashville when they put the interstate going through the city. It went right through all the Black neighborhoods, of course. Gosh, can't avoid it. Has to be here. Separating the two places where the Black neighborhoods were, going right next to the college, Fisk, and all that stuff. So it made me think of The Color of Law and Heather, I can't find it now. There's a writer who wrote about the swimming pools and how they had swimming pools and they had city resources, but as soon as they were going to be required to integrate them, they paved them over instead of allowing access to Black folks, which is, hateful, exactly, is the right word. Jim says, Sakartvelo. That's so different. I love it. Okay, that would eliminate the confusion. I say we all call it Sakartvelo, if that's how it's pronounced. Let me know if there's a sh or something different in there. Give me a pronunciation guide. Jenny says, frat boys and transportation don't stand a chance against you today. Digs, yeah. Jim says, only Lithuania uses Sakartvelo as the name for Georgia. In Russian, it is Gruzia, and in Turkish, Gurjistan. Gurj, so that's closer to Georgia. Interesting. Wonder why it was called Georgia then. Probably the Brits. I mean, the George, obviously. Making wrong side of the tracks very literal, I see. Except it wasn't tracks. It was not the railroad boom era. It was the interstate boom era, so like the 1950s. This is why we can't have nice things. Okay, so the other California book we're rounding the end towards rounding the home stretch here. Rounding the third. Anyway, we're gonna abandon the metaphors. Hey, look what I have. This is your prize for staying on this long, Elaine. Elaine loves to refer to ACOTAR. I do not. But I still have the book. So this is the old version of the book. And the reason I associate this with California is that this and several other books in the series, like the 2 next ones, I think, um, I had not troubled to read. They weren't super, super popular a couple years ago, but I met up with a friend from high school in California, and we exchanged. I think she just gave me a box of books, and in it were like the first 3 Sarah J. Maas books from this series. And I dove into them and plowed right through them, of course. And I was like, this is really interesting. I like it. It's a good sort of romance. And then I read the 4th one, and that was a novella. And I was like, oh, we just broke. Nope. No, we're not doing anymore. So Elaine may say that I didn't get to the best one because the one that's named after her, according to Noah, or something like that, breaks it all open. But I'm just like, done. It's tired tropes, and it's not healthy models. And a lot of young people are reading this, so I think it just needs to go away. But I kept it because I like some of the fun scenes and the humor. So I still have my friend Meg's books from high school. Yeah, there we go. ACOTAR made an appearance. So that was, what was I going to say with a C? That's weird. My brain just like a stutter stopped itself. But yeah, that is to point out that, I have big roots in California, and as part of my project to like connect, not just online, but also with local networks, I spend part of the year in California in my hometown, and I'm trying to remember to like connect with those people and visit them and exchange books with them, even if they're not it. And so last time we went on a hike. It was good. It was good. She's super busy and I am not. So yeah, but that's a good reminder to like keep up with old friends. They're golden. They're golden, like K-pop demon hunters. This book is haunting us. Yes. It's Ben's favorite book. That's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, I heard about that book, says Gara. Yeah, too bad Ben sauntered off. So Jim says, this Georgia has nothing to do with the Brits. It comes from the Parian word gruj, meaning wolf. Also, St. George has relations here like St. Nino. Okay. So the English title for the country comes from Parian. What is Parian? I don't even know that word. Is that a different language family? Oh my gosh, I'm learning so much. Jim, I think you need to do a little primer of like the naming of the country as part of the Georgia series. That'd be fun. Jenny says, I need to just suck it up and get through this book, but I just keep putting it off. Well, what are you reading? Silver Flames, Nesta. I just started reading with the group. Kat says, a book on your TBR you haven't read, Jenny? I'm shocked. Sarcasm. How many are you up to this year? Jim says, I'm reading my first Colleen Hoover, Verity. I did read a novella by Sarah J. Maas, trying to see why they're so popular. Yeah, don't bother. Like I said, my opinion as a person who is allergic to hype is that if a book is popular and there's no clear reason, it's marketing. And that person doesn't need my money. I'm trying to uplift voices that need more hearing, need more audience. And so it doesn't need my attention. Kara says, where in California did you grow up? It is a big state. I grew up in a place called San Luis Obispo. It has a mission, if you're familiar with the California Spanish missions. And it was named after a French bishop, and the name is Spanish because why not? Yeah, it's the Central Coast. It's 2 hours south of Monterey, an hour and a half north of Santa Barbara to sort of situate it. It is a big state. Persian. Oh, okay. That makes more sense. I was like, Parian. I don't know. It could be one of those like Akkadian old languages. I don't know. Ditching Akatar for Fourth Wing. Is this Jenny? I'm not reading Fourth Wing. No comment on TBR or this year's purchases. This talk of town name origins is reminding me of Batman, something like that. That's great. I just recommended them to a friend last night, Gareth. They're so fun. Although maybe I need the public shaming. No, you're not the one. I think other people need public shaming much more. Sorry, I'm like, hey, Cowpaw. Current read is One Salt Sea by Shannon McGuire. Nice. Okay, so we're done with California, and we just have the bonus book. Okay, Alan's probably not here anymore, but I told him this in advance because it's very cute. So before my university experience, before my high school experience, I got an early Anglophile juice in my system because my family liked adventures, and when I was 2 years old, I was whisked along with my two siblings and soon to be third sibling to Northamptonshire. And we lived there for a year as part of a teacher exchange program. So my dad taught at a university in California, Cal Poly, and their family taught at some university in Northamptonshire, and they swapped. And so their families swapped houses as well. This is before the days of like internet, right? They just did it by letter. Crazy. And so we lived in this house, and I was 2, and my brother was born there as a result of this exchange. So it really affected our lives. And as a 2-year-old, I didn't go to school yet. I had a nanny, and she's a delightful person. We've grown to be friends. She was like 16, 17 at the time. And she's got her own family, and her kids now have kids, which is just crazy. So anyway, as a 2-year-old, I wasn't speaking yet. I first started speaking when I lived in Northamptonshire. So I started speaking with an accent like someone from Northampton, which is crazy. But here's my little bonus book from that time. It's Postman Pat's Secret, which I still have because it gives me warm fuzzies. So this was a book series / TV show series with this postman named Pat who delivers the mail and talks to the different people in the community. And he's got a cat named Jess, and they go out. And I still have this little car, and I have Jess as a little candle somewhere. Here we go. Somehow along the line, I got one of these, and I have it as one of my bookshelf tchotchkes. Yeah. So that's fun. Just like very young childhood book. People in America probably wouldn't know what this is from, and it's got an interesting style. But yeah, Postman Pat. I was all over Postman Pat. And oh yeah, there's the series, which is like a claymation kind of thing, and the little truck where he delivers the post or the mail. So yeah, if anyone remembers that. Oh my gosh, Alan's still here. Jim says, I used to visit Portsmouth regularly. My aunt lived in Drayton, which I don't know, the most densely populated city in the UK. Drayton? No, Portsmouth must be. Must be like a suburb. Elaine says, Jenny, you have a few weeks, then we're on to Booktube. Plus, they get thicker as the series goes on. But it's like they're really fat. I mean, the text does not correspond to the size of the books. Yeah. Yep. And the city I love, Jim, that's Portsmouth. Still here. Kat says, I'll be keeping tallies for the group next year. See who wins the coveted last place. Weekly check-ins. Jim says Charles Dickens was from Portsmouth. Excellent. Gareth says he was. I did not know that. There's a Charles Dickens statue you can tickle in the town center. That's a little suggestive, Gareth. I think you might need to explain that for some in the chat. Jim says the only piece I got published in the school magazine was about a trip I took to HMS Victory. I'm guessing this is a Portsmouth landmark. Lane says, I better shop in December and no shop in 2026. Okay. Like you can hold off with all those gift cards. Yeah, that's fun. There we go. Hi, Mom. Postman Pat and his black and white cat. And final note here on the last of these 8 memories books for the tag. When my mom was in this Northamptonshire town, she wrote letters home. And now, how many years later, 40 something, is finally embarking on typing them up. And we're going to put them in Scrivener and we're going to make them into a book, which is fun. Because it's very entertaining. I apparently got up to lots of adventures, so I'm going to be reading them along with her. Jenny says, I'm thinking I should take off 2026 too. Yeah, we're sort of having a side conversation about spending money here. Amazing seeing Postman Pat on this video. It's still on now. No way. Is it reruns or is it new episodes? It's gotta be reruns, right? People aren't around anymore. It's probably updated. It would have been updated. Yeah. Okay. The spending money conversation. Cat Paw says, you beat me to it, Peg. Now I'll have that playing in my head. Oh, okay. So Cat Paw also has the song in their head from the theme. That's cute. Jenny says, Postman Pat was a great kids show along with Fireman Sam. The new CG versions are awful. Oh, I can imagine. So like, look how carefully detailed these are with the mustaches and the hats and the cloth cap. It's brilliant, right? And then I can just imagine that the CG versions look like the Fred Meyer commercials with all their bubble people. Like, ugh, yeah. Can't beat stop motion animation. It's great. I made tickling rude. I just meant tickling his beard. Oh, okay. That we don't do that here, so that's why I was confused. I hear stop motion and think of Robot Chicken. Okay. Robot Chicken. I don't know that. I think that's a cartoon. Love that idea, Margaret. Yeah, the letters. Not my idea. I'm just being pulled along into the execution. Sure. Garrett says, over here, Cat, probably most people will think of Wallace and Gromit if they think of stop motion. Yeah. Yeah. Jim says, Pay, a Canadian booktuber, tried some clay animation booktube videos. He hasn't posted for years now. Yeah, I think he's on to other things. But yeah, his stop motion animation with clay was really entertaining as well. So much work, but like so cool. Yeah, his channel was called Attention with an exclamation. They're probably still up. He's like doing so many things. Yep. All right. We don't do that here. Tickling someone's beard isn't a custom. It's just a joke. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, that is my full tag for the 8 memories. Thank you for sticking with me through all of that. There's so many places I've been that conjure memories when I look at those books. So it was fun to take you back through time. And if others want to do this, I'm tagging those below. Berna and Marion, who's from Northamptonshire, which is so funny. Kim at an Oasis of Books. Emma, if she wants to do this tag as well, and Alan. And I think the only one I checked who had done any tags in this group was Alan had done the rapid fire. So I put him in this group. But yeah, I would love to hear your rambling answers for this, as mine definitely were. So that is us for today. And I'm going to clear up because this is an hour and 20 minutes instead of the usual hour with friends. So thank you guys for sticking in, jumping in, dropping in, pressing the like button, and dropping a comment below if you're watching on replay. Tag me if you're going to do the tag so that I can see your version. That would be fun. And excited to see people's next videos. Thanks, everybody. And happy reading. Take care of yourselves out there. It's wild. All right. Bye, everybody.